My father, was a career Army officer, but his other personality was he would be very humorous. He would tell jokes. He would do voices. Years later, I realized he was imitating W.C. Fields, but at the time I didn't know who that was. There was no revival of 30s movies in the 50s. That happened in the 60s. So he would use that voice, and he would make reference to the Fields' use of funny names, and he would just say that stuff. I would laugh. But my mother and they had an unhappy marriage, so the rest of the time they were yelling and arguing. I don't know if you read or know about my first graphic novel. It's called Invisible Ink. It's the story of my mother's 16-year secret love affair with a famous cartoonist during the time that I lived in Levittown, and my father was, I think, unaware of. She responded to an ad in Newsday, the local newspaper. Writer wants part-time secretary, must travel to New York. She thought she wanted to be a writer. She had actually been published a little bit. And she thought, what a great opportunity. I can work for a writer, but I'll be right with him, and I'll learn the craft better. Within 3 or 4 visits, they started an affair. And when my mother died, she left me her journals, her diaries, and a 384-page unpublished family saga, which had 2 entire chapters about her affair with this man, with different names.
And that's when you first found out about it?
No, I found out about when, it's 1972. So what was I, 28? My father died in a bicycle accident. I was living in San Francisco. My father, who was an avid bike rider for exercise, but this was before people had helmets. There might have been helmets, but it was uncommon. And he went over his handlebars, hit his head on the pavement, and died a few days after that. So
in Levittown?
In Levittown. So when I knew he was when he was dying, I flew to my mother's, side, with my sister, and so we were in the hospital when he died. So a doctor comes into the waiting room and he says, "I'm sorry to tell you that your husband has died." And so we're in shock and we start crying. And then my mother looks to me and my sister and she says, "I have to tell you something now because I'll never be able to tell you again. I had a long love affair with a man you knew. His name was Lawrence Larrier." That was it. Neither of us, my sister or I, asked her a single question. We were grief-stricken at the moment and kind of numb even. What do we do now? Here your mother tells you some deep family secret, deep personal secret. What are you supposed to say to that? So I never brought it up again with her until when she died, she left me this treasure trove. Just the day before she died, she had moved to San Francisco in this little apartment, and she pointed to a filing cabinet in her apartment, and she said, "When I go, give everything to Goodwill, but keep the filing cabinet." Inside the filing cabinet were her journals, her diaries, and her unpublished saga of our family. It took me a while to open them up and really read them. But when I did, I thought, this is a gift I have to deal with. I have to do something with it. And so I produced this book, Invisible Ink. It's my first graphic novel.